Yeah. So good morning, everyone. So in the previous session, I have covered request response cycle. So we'll have some quick assessment now first, and then today I want to cover HTTP request structure, response structure, and few basic definitions in performance testing. Okay, and like performance testing life cycle is one more thing I need to cover. So before starting scripting, okay, performance testing life cycle and requirement gathering. Okay, so requirement gathering, I will share you the recorded session that is very easy to understand. So let me cover this request response cycle just to save some time, right? I will share this recorded session, requirement gathering. It's very easy to understand. Okay, yeah. So able to see my screen, right, everyone?
Yes.
Right. So before starting this, right, let's have some quick assessment. So what are the steps in request response cycle, guys? Can you please close the PPT? Don't refer to the PPT. I could see that Naresh and Sweta are opened this PPT now. Can you please close it? I want to have one quick assessment, guys. Yes, please close it, guys. Naresh,
Yeah.
Close, sir.
can you please close the PPT on your machine? Naresh, I could see that you are accessing the PPT. Yeah, fine. Now, yes. What can you explain, Naresh? Can you explain what is request response cycle?
Browser calls protocol.
What is that?
Browser calls hostname protocol.
No, I'm asking what is request response cycle? This one. I'm asking the steps in that. What is request response cycle? See, this is what I am asking, all the 5 steps, not not line by line.
Local
So
processing.
you should understand the concept, Naresh. What
Yes,
is
sir.
request response cycle means? What happens from the
Happens
moment?
inside the browser.
Please, let me complete. What happens behind the browser from the moment we send the request till we receive response? మన బ్రౌజర్ లో రిక్వెస్ట్ పంపించిన దగ్గర నుంచి రెస్పాన్స్ వచ్చేంత వరకు ఏం జరుగుతుంది? బ్రౌజర్ వాట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ బిహైండ్ ద బ్రౌజర్ లో ఏం జరుగుతుంది? ఎస్, నౌ యూ కెన్ గో అహెడ్. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kesha.
Browser search for IP address in local cache
Let me, yes.
and OS cache.
I can't hear you. I can barely hear you. 1 second. Let me check my speaker volume. Yeah, my speaker volume is 100%.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, and also check for an OS cache
Hmm.
and also in router cache. If it is not found there, it will go through DNS server.
Okay, what is DNS?
Domain name system.
Okay, what does it contain?
It contains hostname and IP address.
Okay.
If we give hostname, it will give IP address. If we give IP
Okay.
address, it will give hostname.
Okay.
And from there, once it is take IP address, it is go to web server through TCP. If TCP enables,
It will
over the
establish a TCP connection.
Yeah, TCP connection, sir. If
Hmm.
TCP connection enable, the request is go to web server.
Okay. What request? Once it establish a connection, it will
Yeah.
send some HTTP request.
Yes.
What can be the request method here?
HTTP method.
Right. What are the different request methods?
Sir?
What are the different HTTP request methods?
Get method, post method,
Hmm.
put method,
Hmm.
insert method, delete method.
And insert are same.
Yes, sir.
Patch method.
Patch method. Yes.
Right. So those are the different, I will cover this in detail. Okay. So, like insert, I will explain this. I will explain this later on. This is called as, CRUD operations. CRUD. If you observe this, create, read, update, delete. CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete. You can see here, I have highlighted, the first letters, right? So post method is equal to insert in SQL. See, in HTTP, these are the different HTTP request methods, right? And the corresponding, query in SQL is insert, right? So post is nothing but inserting some. Post is for, like post or create operation. We do that using insert in SQL, right? Get method or read operation, right? Read operation, we use some select query, right? We use some select query in SQL. You remember SQL commands, guys?
Yes, sir.
You might have come across this in your, BTech or NCA, right? BTech or NCA, in your academics,
Yes.
right? So, I'll explain this later on. Okay, CRUD operations I will explain later on. So very important for interviews, guys. Okay, very important for interviews, right? Yes. So once it establishes a TCP connection, yes, what does it do? Browser, what does it do next?
Send the HTTP request to web
It will send
server.
a request, HTTP request, right?
Yes.
So what is that process called? Establishing a TCP connection is called as Nagalakshmi. Establishing a TCP connection with the server. What is that called? What is that process called? Guys, if you are not paying attention, I will ask you to turn on the video. Everyone should turn on the video. If I'm not getting, if I feel that you are not focusing on the session. Sadia? Sadia, can you please unmute?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is that process called? Establishing a TCP connection. What is that called? Hmm? That's it.
Yes, sir.
TCP
Transmission control protocol, sir. TCP.
Yes, TCP handshake. That is called as TCP handshake. Who told that? Shweta? Is it Shweta?
Yes, sir.
Right. Yes. So that is called as TCP handshake. Right. So once it establishes a TCP connection, it will send a HTTP request, right? And then server will process the request and it will send the response. Browser will receive the response and
Enter the page.
it will render the response in the browser. Isn't it? Basically, like these are basics, guys. Okay, these are basics. Okay, and remember, no one will cover this in such a detail. Okay, no. See, so if any other trainer would have started Loadrunner or JMeter by this time. So I am spending more time on basics because like if you learn this basic, if you are strong in these basics, first thing is you can go. You can easily crack the interviews as well as you can easily understand scripting. Okay. So you should know basic. You should be strong in basics, right? Agree or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So when I attended one yesterday, I told you already. When I attended one interview, 10 years experience, one guy asked that request response cycle. Okay, which is not expected actually. For 10 years experience, guys, no one will ask that. But you cannot say that I don't know, or why are you asking this question to me? Right? You can't say that. Got it? So interviewer can ask anything and everything. You can ask anything, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Right. So let's understand the request structure and response structure, right? HTTP request structure and response structure. Okay. So So Harish joined late. Harish. Okay, we'll ask some assessment for him. We'll give some assessment for him. Okay, fine. So let's proceed with the session first. Right. So request structure, response structure, they consist of three parts. Okay, that is the first part is request line and request headers and request body. Right? Either request HTTP request or HTTP response. They contain three parts. We can class. We can divide that. Request structure or response structure into three parts. So first, let us understand the request structure. So what are those guys? Request line. The first one is request line. Hold on. Request headers and then request body. Okay. Somehow it's not coming up. Okay. So see here. So the first part is request line. So how does a request line look like? This is how it looks like. For example, you type, you are typing google.co.in. This is how your request will go to the server. Right? Google.co.in. This is the request URL. Right? This is the request URL or URI. And this is the, what is this guys? HTTP 1.1. This is nothing but protocol version. Right? Version of the protocol. And this is a get request. Right? We are getting this Google dot, we are asking server to get this page for me. Google.co.in. Right? Or when you are using web tools application, you are sending a request like this. Your request will go like this to the server. Get this page for me. That's what it means. Right? And the communication language, this is the protocol version is HTTP 1.1. So this is how a request line looks like, right? So first let us understand request structure. So it contains request line, request headers, and request body, right? So you have to remember these three guys: request line, request headers, request body. So in the same way, response consists of status line, response headers, response body. This is clear, right? Easy to remember, right? In request, HTTP request, you will contain request headers and request body. These are common. Okay. Here you have response headers and response body. Only thing that differs is here you will have request line. There you will have status line. In the response, you will have status line. Easy to remember?
Yes, sir.
Right? And now how does your request line looks like? This is how it looks like, right? So it contains the HTTP request method token, HTTP request method token, right? Nothing but get or post or put or delete or patch, right? So followed by request URI, and then HTTP protocol, right? And the next part of the request structure is like request headers, right? So request headers, right? So 0 or more headers in the request. Now, what is the purpose of this request headers? This is used to pass additional information about the request, right? Request headers are used to pass additional information about the request. Okay. Now let us understand what is this additional request. Okay. So we will open one, developer tools and we'll see that. Okay. So let me open a new incognito window and, we'll, let me send a request to this, web tools, right? Or else I'll take one new application, advantageonlineshopping.com, right? So this is an online application, as you can see, and you have sent a get request. Now let's see let me refresh the page. Okay. Right. Yes.
Huh?
So you can see that yes, I'm muting everyone. If you have any query, you can speak. Okay. You can unmute yourself and as I'm seeing hearing some background noise. Okay, if you have any query, right, you can press the space bar, press and hold the space bar, and you can and you can, speak. Okay. Right. So now you see here, right? There are total of 42 requests, right? Now let us see the main HTTP request. This is our main HTTP request, isn't it? And see here, what does the request contain? It contains the request method and request URL, right? Request URL, right? And one more thing called, of course, it's not showing the, HTTP version here. I'll show you in the tool. Okay, once we start Loader at JMeter, I'll show you over there, right? And now you see something called request headers here, right? Yes, you see something called
Yes, sir.
request headers here, right?
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
what does your request header contain? Observe here. So accept text or HTML means browser is saying that I can accept this type of content. I can process this type of content. What type of content? Text or HTML, application XHTML plus XML and so on, right? And accept encoding ggip or dflat, right? So basically what happens is when server sends the response, right, it will send in compressed format.
Yes.
Okay. Now browser is saying that I can accept, I can process the ggip format. That is what it means. Got it? Browser is saying that I can accept, I can process only ggip format, right? And the next request header, accept language, means accept language ENUS. That means,
English use.
right, browser is saying to the server, when browser is sending a request, right, browser is sending this additional information to the server. What additional information? It is saying that what kind of response it can process, what kind of compression it can process, and what kind of language it can understand. ENUS stands for US English. Stands for English. US is the country code, right? Browser is saying that I can understand US English. How does it know that? How does it send? Based on your whatever setting you have when you install operating system, right? So they will select the regional language,
Yes.
right? So based on that, browser will say that I can understand only US English. Based on that, it is saying that. Okay, you got it, right? So this is the additional information browser is sending to the server. These are the, I am explaining the important request headers, guys. Okay.
Yes.
And what is this user agent? This is one more important request header. User agent is nothing but user agent. Just understand that term. So user is using a browser here. What browser here?
Mozilla.
User is using Chrome browser, right? That's why you see here Chrome 93, right? That is nothing but your Chrome version. So if you see help, right, about Google Chrome, if you check that, right, see my version, this is the Chrome version is 93. Okay, Chrome version is, see the Chrome version that I am using is 93. That's what like browser is saying, I am using Chrome version 93. You got it?
Yes. Yes, sir.
User agent represents a browser, right? Browser details, nothing but browser details. You should remember this. What is user agent, guys? You will see this in scripting also. Okay, you see all these in scripting, guys. Okay, you will come across all these in scripting. So if you understand these basics, right, you will become champs in scripting. Okay. Right. Now let's go back to the PPT. Right. So you understood, right? What is the purpose of request headers? I have highlighted in bold, right? This is very important, guys. You should know what is the purpose of request headers. I gave some examples here. Request method is get, request time. This is the time of the request. Accept encoding, user agent, accept language. These are the important, headers, right? And now what is request body? Request body tries to send additional information required by the server to process current request properly. Okay, in this get request, we don't have a request body. Of course, we don't have a request body here. Okay, you don't have any request body here. However, if you log into the application, right, your username and password will go in the request body. Okay, let me log into this application. Okay. So everyone open this URL advantageonlineshopping.com on your machine and bookmark it, please. Please do it right away. Meanwhile, just open this URL on your machine, advantageonlineshopping.com, right? And bookmark that URL. I'm just logging into the application. I already registered. You have to register, guys, with your email ID. And please register yourself, guys. Can everyone please register yourself with this application? Means create some user ID password. Okay. Seems like I
Sir,
forgot
first
the
letter
password.
capital ఇవ్వాలి.
Huh?
First ది capital ఇవ్వాలి sir.
Which one? Username, huh?
Yes sir.
Okay,
Password
okay.
sir.
Password first letter should be a capital. That's what you
Yes,
mean
sir.
to say. Yeah, that's what I forgot the password actually. Okay. Okay. Fine, that's fine. So I'll do one thing. Let me clear this. Let me register quickly. Okay. It's a simple process. So for registration, how you do? You click on create new account, right? And you enter your let me close this developer tools. We'll come back to that. Test, test. Okay, you have to agree this. Okay, so once you check this checkbox, then only this register button is getting enabled, isn't it? Right now I am able to register and I'm able to log in. See here next to the user icon, right? You see my user ID, isn't it? Right? I'm able to register and I'm able to log in. If you click on your username, you should get this page, my account page. Did everyone get this, guys? Everyone? Guys, able to hear me? Guys, are able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is my voice breaking for anyone?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Right. Right. So you should see this my account page. Did everyone register with this
Yes, sir.
application? We will be using this application for scripting, guys. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. Now let me do one thing. Let me log out and so I want to show you we are discussing request body, right? Isn't it? So let me open developer tools one more time, and I will log into the application, right? I will log into the application perf-test.kb1 at gmail.com password, right? And click on sign in. Okay, leave it. Let it be. Okay, so hold on. Let me try one more time. Is what I okay. Maybe,
I think you are using a different username, sir.
yeah. So, right. So test. Okay, leave it. That is not important for us, this is what we need to understand, the request body. Let us see here. So this is the request account login request. So, and like username and password, right? They will go in the, the request body. This is the request body, guys. Okay. Payload. So see here, you see here, right? So this is the username, okay, that I have given. Login user. You see perf test, that is the username that I have given, and this is the password that I have given, right? And now this is called as request body or request payload, right? Both are one and same, guys. Request payload or request body, both refers to the same thing. You got it, right? So what goes in the request body,
Yes.
right? So here what is happening? So request body tries to send additional information required by the server to process the current request properly. So what is the current request? Login. Login is the current request that I am sending. So to process the login request, we need to provide credentials, right?
Yes, sir.
That goes in the request body. That is going in the request body. Understood?
Yes.
Now let's understand the response body. So HTTP response is the packet of information. HTTP request is a packet of information sent by server to the client in response to an earlier request made by the client. Suppose you send a request to the server, if it is a valid request, right? Server will respond with some response. Server will send some response, right? So that is HTTP response, right? And the HTTP response can also be divided into three parts. One is status line, the other one is response headers, the third one is response body. Now let me show the status line. Status line, how does it look like? This is how it look like, right? It contains the protocol version, status code, and status message. It contains protocol version, which is HTTP 1.1. And what is this 200?
Status code.
Let's go.
HTTP response code, right? We already discussed different response codes. What are the different types of response codes? I want from Dasrath.
300.
I want from Dasrath. Dasrath, what are the different response codes? HTTP response codes. Anusha?
1xs, 2xs, 1xs for information purpose, 2xs is success, 3xs is redirection, 4 is for status for client side error, and 5xs is server side error.
Excellent. Right. So those are the different response codes that we have. Now, what does this 2xx represents? 200 represents?
Success.
Success means what does that mean? Success means the request is processed successfully by the server, right? That's what it means, sir. Right? Yes or no?
Yes.
See, let's go through the PPT after the session. You have to remember these guys. Okay. So 2xx indicates success, right? What does this represent? This class of status code indicates the action requested by the client was received, understood, accepted, and processed successfully. Means server received the request and it processed the request successfully and it sent a response. Whenever it sends a response, right, which is, when if server is able to process your request successfully, it will send this 200 response code, right? 200 200 indicates success. All response codes that start with number 2 indicates success. Means the process request, the server process the request successfully. Then only server will send this 200 response code which starts with 2xx. Right now, so this is how the first part looks like, status line, which consists of protocol version, response code or response message, and status message. 200 okay means your request was processed successfully, then it sends this okay. status message as okay. The next part is response headers and the next part is response body. What is see, we already understood what is request header. Headers are you, and what is the purpose of headers, right? What is the purpose of headers? Headers are used to pass additional information. Okay, some additional information. Request headers are used to pass additional information about the request. In the same way, response headers are used to pass additional information about the response. Right? Now let us see that in our browser. Okay, let's see that response structure and response headers. See, you see here response headers, right? You see the response headers, right? See, what are the important response headers? So let me explain some important response headers. Content length 416 means the size of your response is 416 bytes, right? And content type is text or XML, right? And you see a few more important headers are, yeah, server name. Observe here, what is this server name? Server name is engines, right? Server name is engines. Engines is the server name, web server name. Okay, you remember what is the web server for web tools application?
Apache server.
Apache server, right? So in the same way, Advantage online shopping application, they are using a server called engines. Okay, don't worry about this. I will cover this for you in detail. What are the different web servers? What are the different app servers? I will cover that for you. Let me show you that. Okay, I have already kept in a in another PPT, that is server monitoring and DB monitoring, I think. So here I gave all the list of, see here, this is, these are the popular web servers, Apache HTTP engines. The popular application servers are Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere, Red, JBoss, and all those, Pramati and Microsoft IaaS. Pramati is a AP-based company. Okay, it's a Hyderabad-based company. Established by our, Telugu people, right? And DB server. These are the important database servers: Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft SQL. I have highlighted the popular servers, most popular, right? So these are the most popular application servers, and these are the most frequently used database servers, right? I have highlighted in a different color. I will explain that later on. For now, let us understand that this is the web server that Advantage online shopping application is using. And you see this Ubuntu, right? What is this Ubuntu, guys?
Operating system.
Linux
Right. That is one flavor of Linux, right? That is one flavor of Linux operating system. Okay. So that also I will cover in the training. Okay. Let me show you that, I have, yeah. When we are, when we are covering this Linux commands, right? I will explain that. For now, see here, Ubuntu is one, flavor of Linux. Means one type of Linux operating system. We have different flavors of Linux, like SUSE Linux, Ubuntu, Novell, AX, Red Hat. So Red Hat is more popular, and Ubuntu, Ubuntu is also popular because it is one of the operating system which will have GUI. All the other Linux operating system, they will not have GUI. You will have only command prompt kind of. Okay, but Ubuntu will have GUI. Okay, so basically, what you understand from here, this engine server is running on Ubuntu operating system, right? So server is giving some additional information about the response, isn't it? This is response date and time, at what time we got the response, right? And so this is some addition. So response headers consists of additional information about the response, isn't it? Yes, able to follow,
Yes, sir.
right? And next, the last part of the response structure is response body, isn't it? Last part of the response structure is response body. Where is the response body, guys? So you can see that response body. If you click on response, right, you see this response body. This is nothing but your response body. Got it? This is your response body. Okay. Got it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is about request structure and response structure. This is the anatomy of HTTP request and HTTP response. I will take a pass here. Any queries?
Sir,
Yes,
what
we'll
is
have.
GUI?
What is that?
GUI.
Graphical user interface.
GUI stands for graphical user interface. Yes. Means Windows operating system has this graphical user interface, right? GUI, right? But Linux will not have most of the Linux operating system flavors. They will not have GUI. Okay, you'll simply have a command prompt only. But for all the for running the applications, right, web applications, right, most of the companies use Linux boxes, Linux operating system, because it it is more secure than Windows, more secure and more efficient than Windows. That's why like all the see here we are running web tools on our Windows operating system. Okay, we are running web tools on our Windows operating system, but generally most of the web applications will be running on Linux boxes, Linux operating system. Okay, and they will not have I mean that boxes will not have GUI. Okay, is it clear or confusing?
Yes.
Clear.
Let me open your sorry. Learning notes. Okay, one more thing, like I have to share this running notes also with everyone. September batch class notes. And I'll verify that after the session. So GUI stands for
Graphical user interface.
right. And I have kept some screenshots, guys, just for your reference, right? I kept some screenshots. See here, this there is some server error here in this application, right? This is the URL. Not now, guys. It is working now. Okay. So, but when I captured, when I faced some issue, right? I captured a screenshot, right? So, what is this error code? 522, which indicates connection timeout, right? 522 indicates a connection timeout. Okay. And few more screenshots. See, this is hdfcbank.com for a HDFC. So I got 520 error code on in 2019. This is in 2019. I got one time once when I am accessing HDFC application, HDFC bank application, I got this response code of 520. Okay, just to show you, I captured a screenshot and I kept in the slides just to make you understand, right? So all these response codes that start with number 5 indicates, what does they indicate?
Server side.
Server side error. There is some issue on the server side, and that's why it is not working. And this is this is like 530. See, observe here 530 and 1016 both are same. They indicate origin DNS error. Okay, you need not remember this. Don't worry about this. You need not remember all the response codes, but you should remember that any response code that start with number 5 that indicates a server side error. Any response code that start with number 4 indicates a client side error, right? So you should remember those things. Okay, just just to show you, like I kept some I captured some screenshots. Okay, any queries now?
No, sir. It's clear.
Okay, so it's 8:25. Shall I move to the next one? All right. So let us understand this like this. Okay. Suppose you want to do load testing for an application. You want to do load testing or performance testing for an application, right? Say for example, Redbus, there is Redbus web application is there, and they want to do performance testing for their application. Let's assume that on an average there will be 1 lakh users per day who will be using Redbus application, right? Redbus application is used countrywide, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So let us assume that there are some 1 lakh users who will be using Redbus application per day, right? Now they want to do performance testing for their application, right? Means they want to do performance testing means they cannot make 1 lakh users sit like this. They cannot engage 1 lakh testers, 1 lakh test engineers. They cannot coordinate like this, right? So all of you click the go button, right? Or all of you search for some bus between one city to another city. They cannot do like this, right? They cannot, first of all, they cannot coordinate with 1 lakh users, test engineers, right? They cannot procure 1 lakh computers. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? And they cannot coordinate also. Even though they can coordinate, they cannot collect all the results. Like they cannot collect all the response times from each machine, right? Isn't it? So do you have the, so first of all we cannot engage 1 lakh test engineers. We cannot engage client machines. Means we cannot engage 1 lakh computers. We cannot arrange 1 lakh computers, or you cannot coordinate all the users, right? And we cannot also we can't collect and analyze the results also. And if you want to repeat the test also, we cannot do that, right? So that's why we have some so manual load testing is problematic, very next to impossible. Manual load testing means engaging those many number of engineers and asking them to test the application, right? So that is next to impossible thing, right? Yes or no? Agree?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now for this reason we have these performance testing tools like LoadRunner and JMeter, right? So LoadRunner is one of the pioneer tool in performance testing, guys, right? Means the first tool that is invented for performance testing is LoadRunner. It is it was developed in 1999. Okay, so LoadRunner was first developed in some 1999, I remember. Let me confirm. Yes, so it's developed in 1999. So it is 22 years old tool. Okay, it was developed by a company called Mercury. And later HP acquired this LoadRunner. HP bought that LoadRunner from Mercury in 2006. Again in 2016, LoadRunner was acquired by Micro Focus. Now LoadRunner is owned by Micro Focus, by a company called Micro Focus, right? So this we'll come back to this LoadRunner. Okay, so basically that is why we have as manual load testing is problematic, right? Next to impossible. We have some performance testing tools like LoadRunner, JMeter, Gatling, and like there are around 20 to 30 tools in the market. Okay, let me show you all those tools, list of all the tools. LoadRunner, Micro Focus LoadRunner, which is a licensed tool. This is a licensed tool. However, it provides trial version. Okay, I'll make you register with okay, so everyone, so you need you need an official email address for this if you want to use the trial version. If you want to download trial version, right? Previously they used to provide for anyone, but from last year what they are doing is they are providing for only student email address, means university email address or official email address. Okay, those who don't have, those who have some official email address, you can register yourself and you can download from the Micro Focus website, right? Those who don't have, I will share the software to your email ID. Clear, guys?
Okay.
Those who don't have an official email address, I will share to your email ID. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Now Apache JMeter is free. You can download, anyone can download from their website and you can download it. It is an open source tool. Open source tool means we don't require a license. We need not require a license, and anyone can download and use it, right? And the other important tools in the market are NeoLoad, WebLoad, SIL Performer, IBM RPT. The RPT stands for the Rational Performance Tester, and it was developed by IBM company. That's why it is called as IBM RPT. And Gatling, Locust, Grinder, Load Ninja, Load View, Load UI Pro. Right? These are few different performance testing tools. Not only these guys, there are few more tools also. Okay. Now the question is whether we need to learn all these. Some people may be thinking like, oh, these many tools. So do we need to learn all these? No, not required. These are the more popular tools in the market. Okay. So if your company is using Webload or Gatling, like you have to learn. Suppose you join a company and they are using, assume that they are using Gatling, or you got a job in IBM, then they will be using RPT. Then you have to learn this. However, if you learn one tool, right, like almost all other tools work in the same way, right? You have to know performance testing concept. If you know performance testing concepts and like one tool, so you can learn any other tool very easily. Okay.
No.
Right. So, but these are the more popular tools in the market: LoadRunner, JMeter, and NeoLoad. Okay. And LoadRunner is the pioneer tool. It still has, only LoadRunner has 50% of the market share. Means 50% of the companies are still using LoadRunner, right? JMeter has around 20 to 30% market share, right? And NeoLoad may be having some 10%. Rest of all the tools. I'm giving some approximate numbers, guys. Okay. Now let's come back to that. How LoadRunner works, right? Now let us understand how LoadRunner works, right? Let us understand how LoadRunner works, right? Suppose you want to do load testing for some application, right? You want to do load testing for some application. So what you do is, we already discussed what are the critical business flows of an application. You remember that? Suppose you want to do performance testing for some travel application like Redbus or ClearTrip or Abibus or Make My Trip, any travel application or IRCTC, right? Then first you will collect what are the important business flows of that application. Means important business flows means what do normally users do on that application mostly, right? We already discussed this in the demo sessions, right? User registration. First of all, user should register themselves. If they want to, use the application, they have to register themselves. Yes or no? If they want to log in, right? They want to register themselves. That's what I asked you, right? I asked you to create an account if you want to use this application, isn't it? Any application, right? If you are doing performance testing, first of all, you should you should collect the business. What are the critical business flows of that application? Means in the normal users in production, right? What are the business flows? What are what do they do with the application? Right? As simple as that. If you are testing some e-commerce application like Amazon or Flipkart or JioMart, what do you do with Amazon or Flipkart or any e-commerce application? So yeah, what do you do with Amazon or Flipkart kind of application? What do you generally do?
We'll search the product and order it.
What is that?
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat, Shreya?
Sir,
What do you do with the Amazon application?
Online shopping.
No, let her answer, Those who are, like when I'm asking someone, let them answer, please. Yes?
sir, we will do online shopping, sir.
No, we do online shopping, right? So how do you do online shopping with that, first you will register yourself. You will create an user ID for yourself, right?
Yes, sir. And then we will search for particular item and we will.
You search for some product, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You search for some product, right? You search for some product here, right?
Yes, sir.
Suppose you are interested in iPhone. You want to see iPhone, right? You search for that product, isn't it?
And then we will.
And then you will add, you will go through that product, right? I mean, you will click on that product and go through the product. isn't it? And then you may add to the wish list or you may add to cart. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
You may add to cart and then you may check out. You will check out, right? These are the business flows of this application. Means business flows means this is what normal users do, production users do. What is meant by production user? Those who are using Amazon.in application, right? All those are production users. This application is already in production, right? Available for anyone to use, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right? Or you may want to cancel your order, right? So those are the critical business flows. In the same way, suppose you are using some travel application, right? You register yourself, you search for ticket availability, and you may book a ticket or you may book a hotel room using that application. You may book some travel packages, pilgrim packages, and you may cancel the ticket or you may print the ticket. These are the critical business flows for any travel application, isn't it? Right? So what we now do is in performance testing, what we do is we will develop one script for user registration, one script for searching ticket availability, one script for, so basically we develop one script for each of the critical business flow, right? And we execute those scripts because we cannot if you want to do performance testing for an application with 1 lakh users, we cannot call 1 lakh test engineers and we cannot arrange 1 lakh computers, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right, so that's why what we do, we will develop script for each of the business flow and we will run with virtual users. When we are running those scripts, right, we are simulating the real world users. Observe here, right? Thousands of virtual users perform real life transactions on a system to simulate production traffic, to emulate or to simulate production traffic. Means రియల్ టైంలో యూజర్స్ ఏం చేస్తారో దాన్ని మనం స్క్రిప్ట్ తో చేస్తాం. స్క్రిప్ట్ తో చేసి లోడ్ జనరేట్ చేస్తాం అప్లికేషన్ మీద. వాట్ ఎవర్ అప్లికేషన్ వీఆర్ టెస్టింగ్. దశరథ్ ఏబుల్ టు ఫాలో?
Yes, sir.
యూ వాంట్ మీ టు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ ఇన్ తెలుగు, దశరథ్?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sometimes.
Huh?
Sometimes.
ఓకే, సో మనం ఏదైనా ఒక వెబ్ అప్లికేషన్ టెస్ట్ చేయాలంటే, సపోజ్ ఒక 1 lakh యూజర్స్ తో టెస్ట్ చేయాలంటే వీ కెనాట్ arrange 1 lakh testers, right? 1 lakh
Yes,
test
sir.
engineers ni 1 lakh computers ni arrange చేయలేం, right?
Yes.
చేసినా we cannot arrange, we cannot coordinate them, right? All of you search for some product, right? We cannot do like that. And
Yes,
also
sir.
we cannot collect the results also. So 1 or 2 machines aithe we can collect the results, we can see what is the response time using developer tools or some other tool. We can see the response time, but can we collect the response time from 1 lakh machines? No, right?
No, sir. No, sir.
That's why what we do is we will develop script for each of the business flow. First we will collect this information, what are the critical business flows for that application, right? And what we will do is we will develop one script for each of them, right? In the next session I will show you how to create a script with some tool like LoadRunner, right? We will not write any code from scratch, guys. Okay, that is the advantage of performance testing. We will not write any code from scratch. Tool will create the script for you, okay? But we need to enhance the script as per our requirement. Mana requirement prakaram a script modify cheskoni we have to use that script. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, we will see that tomorrow. In the next session we'll see how to use a tool to generate a script, right? So can I continue for 20 more minutes? Shall we continue till 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Sir. Sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir.
Is it interesting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take a pass here. So this approach remains same with any tool, not only LoadRunner base. Okay, not only LoadRunner, but JMeter or NeoLoad or any other tool, right? The approach remains the same. We will create the scripts and we will run those scripts to simulate the real world users, right? And production low, suppose you are testing some Amazon kind of application, right? What you do is you'll create one script for what are the critical business flows for Amazon application, Amazon or I took Amazon example because most of you may be using it. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So any e-commerce application, any e-commerce, right? E-commerce means any e-commerce application, right? Like this Amazon or Flipkart or JioMart, right? Any other applications, e-commerce applications, examples? Big Basket. Did you use Big Basket anytime?
Mintra.
Yes, sir.
Right? There are a lot of other e-commerce applications, right? So what what do we do with those? If you want, what do we do with those applications? If you want to buy some products, right? You'll register ourselves first, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Next,
Search for product.
you'll search for a product. Yes.
Caught a product.
Add to cart, right? Checkout. Yeah, checkout payment is part of checkout, right? Checkout process, isn't it? We make the payment and checkout, right? Or we can cancel order and so on. Is that no?
Tracking.
Yeah, order tracking. Yes, track order. Next, anything else?
That's it.
Right? Okay. See, there may be some other flows, but these are the important business flows. So we can update our profile or address or phone number, right? Profile update. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? We can also see the previous orders. Yes or no? Previous orders. We can also see our previous orders, right?
Yes.
Right. So these are the critical business flows. This is what users do with any of these e-commerce applications. Now, if you are testing, if you want to test JioMart, for example, you got a project to do performance testing for JioMart, right? So what you will do, you will get all the critical business flows. You will ask the client what is the target user load. Means ఎంతమంది users వాడుతున్నారు JioMart today, right? And you have to test that up. You have to create one script for each of the business flow, and you have to test that application with those many number of users. If in real time, if 1 lakh users are using JioMart application, right, or any other e-commerce application or Big Basket, if 1 lakh users use Big Basket per day, right, you have to test it with 1 lakh users, isn't it?
Yes.
That is why then why do we test? Why do we want to test?
Estimate the load. The
Estimate the
application.
load.
Clear the traffic.
And to create the traffic, why do we need to create the traffic?
Find the performance of the application.
Right. We already discussed, right? What is the purpose of doing performance testing? We already discussed. What are the explain different examples, different requirements, right? So to determine the speed, stability, scalability of the application. Yes or no?
Yes.
So why do we do performance testing? Performance testing is used to determine the speed, stability, scalability, and reliability of the application. And I explained some use cases also, right? Why I explained this, right? For an already existing system, why do we do performance testing? Or in which scenario we do performance testing for an already existing application? And for a newly built application, why do we do performance testing? We already discussed this, guys. These are the goals of performance testing. These are the reasons why we have to do performance testing. Sir, no. Did we discuss this or no, guys?
Yes, sir. Discuss.
Those who joined late, right, please go through the playlist URL that I shared. Okay.
Sure, sir.
So right now, let us understand some basic definitions, guys. Okay. So we'll I want to cover these basic definitions so that we are ready to start, some tool, right? Or, one more thing is performance testing life cycle is pending. I mean, that is yet to be discussed. So, we'll decide like tomorrow, like whether we want to do start script or, tool scripting or, performance testing life cycle we can discuss later also. So let us understand some basic definitions in performance testing terminology. The first one is virtual users, right? The first one is virtual users. What is meant by virtual user? Okay. So in this example, right, we in this example, manual load testing, right? If you want to do manual load testing, we have to engage, test engineers, isn't it? Right? Those are real testing units. But like it's if you want to do performance testing with some 1 lakh users, right? We cannot, we cannot arrange 1 lakh you testing units, and we cannot arrange 1 lakh machines, right? So instead of that, I just now explained that we will be running the scripts, right? And those users will be simulating the production traffic, means real time lo application మీద ఏమేం చేస్తారో users అది మనం scripts తో చేస్తాం, right? So that's why these users are called as virtual users. They are not real users, right? Virtual is the opposite of real. Yes or no? Virtual, right? What is virtual, guys? See, this is virtual meeting that we are attending, right? It's not a real meeting, but it is a virtual meeting, isn't it? Not physically existing, right? Not physically, virtual means not physically in computers, in computer terminology, not physically existing, isn't it? So we are creating virtual users with the help of what? How can we create virtual users? With the help of scripts, right? So virtual user is a program, right? A virtual user is a, are you hearing some background noise from my side?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
from not from your side, sir. It's from somewhere.
Okay. So virtual user is a program or a user that acts just like real user. Real user would do when making request to a web application. Is it clear? Is the definition clear, guys? It is a program or a soft or a script, right? Or a user that acts just like a real user would do when making request to a web application, right? Is it clear? Is the statement clear? What is virtual user?
Yes.
Right? During a load test, when we are doing a load test, right, a considerable number of virtual users can be run on one computer, in this context called as load generator. Okay, let me explain this. Okay, okay, hold on, I'll explain this. For now, understand what is virtual user, everyone. Okay, so important, basics, guys, important definitions. What is meant by a virtual user? By developing a script, right, we are creating a virtual user. Real world user ఏం చేస్తాడో అదే యాక్షన్స్, అదే we are simulating that with a virtual user. So what does a real world user do with Amazon? So he may search for a product, or he may add to cart, or he may check out, or he may cancel a product, or he can track order, right? So అదే మనం స్క్రిప్ట్ తో చేస్తాం మనం, when we are testing any application. That's why that is not a real user, but he or she is a virtual user. There is no he or she here, right? It's a virtual user. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Simple opposite. Virtual user and nothing but opposite to real user. That's it. Right? Now, passed request means the number of successful requests that are sent to the server. Right? Passed request is nothing but how many successful requests are successfully processed when we send to the server. That is passed request. Right? The next definition is time to first byte. TTFB. This is called as TTFB, time to first byte. What is meant by time to first byte? The name itself implies, a పేర్లోనే ఉంది. Time to first byte means the time between the first byte of user request and the first byte of server response. Let me explain. Suppose you are sending a request, right, to apple.com, to this website called apple.com, right? The moment you click enter button, right? So your request and response will be transferred in the form of bytes that you are aware of, right?
Yes.
Your request and response will go, the unit of measurement is bits and bytes, bit to byte, right? Means data transfer, nothing but data transfer. The data transferred is measured in terms of bits and bytes. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now you send, you are sending a request. I clicked enter button, I sent a request. And I received the first byte of response, right? See, I'm not receiving the response at once. Okay, sir, now page మొత్తం load అవ్వట్లేదు. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? It is loading slowly. It is loading slowly, right? So the time between the first byte of the request, user request, and first byte of server response, that is called as TTFB, time to first byte. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next, time to last byte, right? So see, let me give some example for this time to first byte. Suppose you placed an order in Big Basket, or suppose you placed an order in Amazon for some 4 to 5 products, right? So మీరు order పెట్టిన తర్వాత you may not receive all the products at once, right? You receive the first order, right? That is called as time to first order in that terminology, in that Amazon example. Yes or no? Suppose you place it some 4 to 5 products, same product kaadu, different. Suppose you are using Amazon pantry and you are ordering some items, right? So
Can we
when you
check
place
in
some
developer
order
tool,
to
sir?
Amazon pantry, they will not send it at once, right? Yes or no, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
They will send it, there will be different sellers. So there will be different sellers on Amazon pantry. Yes or no? Did anyone order Amazon pantry?
Sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So there will be different sellers in Amazon pantry, right? How can we go to pantry, guys?
Just to type some.
So you have products of different companies, right? So each product is sold by a different company. So when you place some 4 to 5 products, right, you'll receive separately, right? You will not receive all at once. Yes or no? So the first order you receive, right, that is called as time to first order. So in this example, coming back to our performance testing, or this browser example, now you understood, right? What is time to first byte? The time between first byte of the user request and first byte of server response, that is called as time to first byte. In the same way, time to last byte means the time between first byte of the user request and last byte of the server response, that is time to last byte, right? Easy, right? These definitions are easy to understand, or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Can we check,
response transfer
sir?
time or receive time.
Hello.
Okay. We already discussed response time. Yes or no? What is response time? The time taken to receive the complete response, that is response time. Suppose you type apple.com, right? The time taken to load this page, that is response time of this page. If I click on some other, let me go to some other, page. Suppose I click on Mac, right? It took some time to load this page, right? That is called as response time of this page, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, what is receive time? Response transfer time means the time between the first byte and last byte of response arriving. This is called as receive time. అంటే ఆ రెస్పాన్స్ మొత్తం రావడానికి ఎంత టైం పడుతుంది, ఫస్ట్ బైట్ నుంచి లాస్ట్ బైట్ వరకు ఎంత టైం పడుతుంది. ఫస్ట్ బైట్ వచ్చింది, సి ఫస్ట్ యూ రిసీవ్ సమ్ రెస్పాన్స్, ఫస్ట్ బైట్ ఆఫ్ ద రెస్పాన్స్, అండ్ ఫస్ట్ బైట్ రావడానికి లాస్ట్ బైట్ ఆఫ్ ద రెస్పాన్స్ రావడానికి ఎంత టైం పడుతుంది, దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ as రిసీవ్ టైం or response transfer time. Is it clear, guys, what is response transfer time?
Yes.
And page load time. What is page load time? The time spent to download the complete page, including all HTML content, images, JavaScript files, CSS files, and so on. This is called as page load time. The time spent to download the complete page, including all HTML content, images, JavaScript, CSS files. This is our, this is nothing but response time. Okay, response time of the page load time or response time. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there is a small difference between these two, response time and page load time. Okay, I'll explain that later. Okay, there is a small difference. Guys, hold on. So let me remove this. There is a small difference between these two. Okay, and these are not that much important. Leave it. But these definitions are important to understand. Okay, virtual users, time to first byte, time to last byte, response transfer time, page load time. Okay, next. So next, let us understand. Let us understand the response time in detail. Response time is also called as round trip time. I'll close in 5 minutes, guys. Okay. Response time is also called as round trip time. Okay. So like Lakshmi, I think you have to. Those who want to move to office, right? You can move. You can start. Okay, if you have some work. Okay, I'll share the recording anyways. Okay. So response time is also called as round trip time. Why it is called as round trip time? Okay. Why it is called as round trip time, guys? Suppose hold on. So why is it called as round trip time is you send a request from the browser, any of the browser, and your request will go to the web server, app server, database server, one trip, one way. The other way is from database server, it should come to, your response should come processed by application server, and it will send to web server, and then it sends to the browser. That is why this is called as round trip time. You got it?
Yes.
మన రిక్వెస్ట్ మన బ్రౌజర్ నుంచి పంపించిన రిక్వెస్ట్ ఇట్ విల్ గో టు ఫస్ట్ వెబ్ సర్వర్ కి వెళ్తుంది, వెబ్ సర్వర్ కి వెళ్ళి తర్వాత అప్లికేషన్ సర్వర్ డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్ కి వెళ్తుంది, వెళ్ళి దెన్ ఇట్ కమ్ బ్యాక్స్ ఆల్ ద వే టు రైట్ టైమ్ టు ఫస్ట్. ఓకే, ఐ విల్ కమ్ టు దోస్ క్వశ్చన్స్. సో it comes, a response will be received, will travel all the way from database server to app server to web server, and web server to browser. This is called as, that's why it is called as round trip time. Okay, you understood why response time is called as round trip time?
Yes.
Right, so response time is the total time it takes from when a user makes a request until they receive the response. Right, user browser లో ఒక రిక్వెస్ట్ పంపించిన దగ్గర నుంచి రెస్పాన్స్ వచ్చే రావడానికి ఎంత టైం పడుతుందో that is called as response time, nothing but response time. Right, response time is the amount of time from the moment user sends a request until the time the application indicates that request has completed. Is it clear, guys, what is response time?
Yes.
So response time is important in performance testing because it represents how long a user must wait for a request to be processed by the application. Sometimes we don't get response fast, right? Sometimes it may take 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or sometimes you may not get the response also. Sometimes we see this page can't be displayed, right?
Yes.
Right. So response time is very important in performance testing because it represents how long a user must wait for a request, right, to be processed by an application. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
Slow response times equals an unhappy user experience and will also result in the loss of revenue. Right? Suppose you are, you want to buy a product and you go to GMart, right? And or you go to Flipkart. So you search for some product and you are not getting, I mean, if the page is loading, right? You are not getting the page, right? Then what you will do immediately?
I'll switch to another.
Using someone.
Right, you will simply switch to Amazon or some other competitor, right? So slow response, that's what I mean to say here. Slow response time equals an unhappy user experience, and it will also result in the loss of revenue, right? Now, so yeah. So, and transaction response time in detail means response time. What does response time consist of, right? So it consists of processing time on the web server, processing time on the application server, and processing time on the database server, and network latency between the servers and the client. You have to understand, see, you know all this. Processing time on web server, application server, database server means మనం ఒక రిక్వెస్ట్ పంపించినప్పుడు like all these servers process your request. Web server, app server, database server, all these process your request, right? So ఎంత టైం పడుతుంది వెబ్ సర్వర్ ఆ రిక్వెస్ట్ ప్రాసెస్ చేయడానికి, అప్లికేషన్ సర్వర్ ప్రాసెస్ చేయడానికి సమ్ టైం, ఇట్ టేక్స్ సమ్ టైం. అలాగే డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్ ప్రాసెస్ చేయడానికి కూడా ఇట్ టేక్స్ సమ్ టైం, రైట్? సో ప్రాసెసింగ్ టైమ్ ఆన్ వెబ్ సర్వర్, యాప్ సర్వర్ ప్లస్ డిబి సర్వర్ ప్లస్ నెట్వర్క్ లేటెన్సీ బిట్వీన్ ద సర్వర్స్ మీన్స్ ఈ వెబ్ సర్వర్, యాప్ సర్వర్, డిబి సర్వర్ ఒకే మెషిన్ లో ఉండవు. దే విల్ బి రిసైడింగ్ ఇన్ డిఫరెంట్ మెషిన్స్, రైట్? So, and also your request has to travel over the network, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? Your request will go to internet and then it goes to web server, app server, database server, right? So the time spent in the network, right? That is called as network latency. That is called as network latency, right? Latency means, delay, network delay between the servers and the client. So response time of a request is equal to processing time plus network latency. Processing time on all these servers plus network latency. Is it clear?
Yes.
Is it clear, guys?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Understand in this way. Dasrath, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, network latency and nothing but travel time between servers and the client. For example, you placed an order in Swiggy, right? So like your Swiggy executive, he will collect that order and he has to travel from that restaurant to your home, right? That is the travel time. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So in the same way, and also the cook will take some time, right? So to prepare your order and like packing, billing and packing and all, right? Dispatching and all, right? That is the processing time in that example, in your food delivery example. And he will also take some time to travel from that restaurant to your home, right? So that is travel time. Here in this terminology, in this example, that is network latency, time spent in the network, right? So response time of a request is equal to processing time plus network latency. If we correlate that with a Swiggy order, Swiggy or Zomato order, right? So processing time means preparation time plus travel time. That is the time taken for delivery. Okay. Let me add that example. Shall I add that example?
Sir.
Food delivery time, like in Swiggy or Zomato, right? Swiggy or Zomato or any other app, right? So what does it contain, right? Your food preparation time, plus delivery time, right? Or travel time,
Right.
right? So in the same way, response time of a request is equal to processing time plus network latency, right? So you can ignore the other definitions, okay? I mean, explaining you the main concepts, okay? Right? That is what I explained here. You could explain this now. Okay, now. So I'll stop it here, guys. It's already 9:10. Okay, I'll stop it here. We'll continue tomorrow. There are a few more concepts like throughput and request per second, hits per second, transaction, think time, and pacing. I'll explain that tomorrow, and yeah. Tomorrow's session also will go for this. All right, and I'll give some introduction to loadrunner. Okay. So I'm planning to start loadrunner first. If you learn loadrunner first, geometry will become easy. Okay. So tomorrow's session also, you can those who did not pay fees yet, you can attend tomorrow's session also. But once I start, loadrunner or geometry, I cannot allow. Okay. I'm stopping. So let me pause recording.